Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only.
Receiving this afterwards. We will be sending this out to everyone that attended. So thank you for joining us this morning. And I turn it over to you, Beth.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining me today. As Erin said, my name is Beth Reichert, and I am a client development specialist here at HireLevel. So today we're going to be talking about the new service that we are now offering, human capital management. We're going to talk about what that means to you, the trends within the industry dictating that shift, and how you can use the automation of key workforce functions to simplify and streamline your processes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What is human capital management? So throughout the presentation, you'll probably hear me refer to HCM quite a bit. So that is just short for that human capital management. And what that is it's a set of practices related to people resource management, specifically talking about in the categories of workforce acquisition, workforce management, and workforce optimization. In short, it's talking about the management of your people, your most important asset. And any business owner will agree that people-related costs, including compensation and benefits, is without question the largest budgeted items for most companies, which means HR has been shifted to a more strategic and integrated role in fulfilling the overall organization strategy and goals. HR is being relied upon more and more to make sure that the employees are satisfied and that they're engaged, and also that everything is being streamlined. So we're talking about workforce acquisition, management, and optimization, but the main focus of the webinar today will be on workforce management specifically. So when we're looking at the industry trends and why HCM, we're seeing more and more of the need for streamline and automating HR and payroll going together. And by combining the processes, it's reducing the cost redundancies and it eliminates the unnecessary errors between the two. They work hand in hand, and for reporting purposes, it just is helping streamline and maintain that important company records. Additionally, we're seeing more than $2 billion in investment capital being raised for HR technology, and that was in 2015. So quite a bit is being invested in this because of the turnaround that it's going to do for your company. Additionally, we're seeing the emerging workforce, you got it, the millennials will make up about 50% of the U.S. working population by 2020. That is the largest chunk of that, and that is going to really dictate how our workforce is operating, whether that being remotely, flexible work schedules, everything's going to be done mobilely as well. So that's really going to dictate the direction that this human capital management goes. And also payroll software companies are now referring to themselves as human capital management companies. So HCM is rapidly replacing these traditional payroll service applications. So the 6 benefits of human capital management. Cloud-based HCM provides everything an employer needs to manage their workforce and is in pretty high demand. So with today's business environment and legislation and technology, which we know is always changing, employers are challenged to do more than just issue these paychecks. So the 6 reasons that HCM is going to benefit your business, number 1 is going to be that it's a cloud-based solution. So HCM technology is extremely cost-effective. The cloud-based HCM applications reduce that need for IT support, because most of the time those software companies, they are doing the maintenance on that server, so the IT is not needed. So HCM will also allow multiple customers to access that same application simultaneously, so you don't have to wait for somebody to log out. There's multiple options for multiple users to be using it. Number 2 is the hardware and software upgrades. The cloud technology's multi-tenancy architecture assures you of always working with the latest version, so no more downtime while updates are processing. Again, that IT support doesn't have to come in and do that IT update to that software. It's constantly going without you probably even knowing about it. Number 3 is data security, which we know is so important today. Data in a cloud-based HCM system provides secure data effortlessly. It's maintaining high standards and rigorous to government compliance regulations. So important information is protected. It's using superior firewalls and encrypted transmissions. And we're talking about people's personal data. So what is more important than keeping that secure? You know, social security numbers, bank account records, payroll records, all of these things we need to ensure that the data is secure. And we're also probably one of the biggest things with HCM and the benefits is it's a shorter learning curve. So when you're using this single plug and play solution, you're having that shorter learning curve. You're not having multiple softwares that you're having to learn what to do here and what to do here. Everything's streamlined. It's on one system. Also, tracking talent management. So HCM platforms can cover the entire employee lifecycle from start to finish. From hiring, onboarding, and training to even the termination, it's designed to flow with that. And lastly, better employee engagement, and this is probably the most important. So no matter where employees are located, they can access their personal data, benefits information, request time off, and payroll, relieving HR from that time-consuming data management. And also it's going to just really keep that employee engaged and keeping information up to date and relieve that headache for you as well. So human capital management is strengthening company strategies. Employers that utilize a cloud-based human capital management solution are experiencing faster processing time and reduced support demands, and they're benefiting from that anytime, anywhere accessibility. We're talking through a desktop, a laptop, mobile devices. They're accessing this data anywhere at any time. So these comprehensive HCM solutions are rapidly replacing multiple applications and integrating those business functions. So when we talk about what it's strengthening, you know, when we've looked at HCM products in the past, most people within a small to mid-sized company think that it's not attainable, that it are these larger organizations that are able to make use of these type of products, but that's changing. And so we're finding these more comprehensive HCM solutions that are available to really any size employer, and it's being delivered through the cloud, so it's making it much easier. And with today's compliance requirements, you know, we're constantly seeing changes in FLSA requirements, labor laws, you know, it's just ongoing. Employers are needing this solid platform that delivers that unified payroll and HR solution to run their businesses. You know, really making sure that you're staying in compliance. And how are you doing that? Is your software helping you with it? Are you having to manually do this? HCM data also provides just better results altogether when we're talking about reporting, you know, running reports. If you're, you know, again, you have these different applications, it's not going to help you. It's going to cause you more work. And so the data is going to be more accurate because it's together under one platform. Also, that robust accessibility, I've mentioned it a couple times, but the key to a successful HCM deployment is the accessibility and usability of the analytics by the supervisors, HR staffs, and executives. So what's that mean? That means workflow. We're talking about who has access to what, and really that true workflow to make sure things are getting done and they're getting done in a timely manner. And probably, again, one of the most important and biggest benefit to an HCM product is how it's mobilely engaging the employees. So those mobile apps, you know, I check the weather on my phone, I check my bank, everything that I can think of that I need is on my phone. So why wouldn't I have access to my paycheck? Why wouldn't I have access to time off requests? These are all things that are pretty much being demanded by employees. And so by streamlining that and making that available to them, you're increasing their overall employee satisfaction. So the HTM key features, again, we're talking about the workforce management part of this. I'm just kind of briefly going over them before we actually go in depth over the benefits of each one and the automation of them. Onboarding, we're talking about improved job performance, better retention, reduced stress, and employee satisfaction. When we talk about onboarding, that's your first step to that employee engagement and that first introduction to your company. So I think it's very important that you have a good onboarding process and you make it as easy for you and the employee. Then we're talking about benefit management and open enrollment, everybody's favorite topic if you're an HR director or manager and you're dealing with open enrollment. Automating it's going to make your life a whole lot easier. Employer-employee notifications once eligibility begins. We're talking about life events, integrated COBRA notification system, everything that goes along with managing those benefits. HR talent management, performance evaluation, certification and training, salary planning, disciplinary offenses, EEOC, you name it. HR talent management should be right in there integrated with your payroll and all of these other features. You should be able to just have an HR manager go right in and have everything right there together. No more paper, just having that on there is going to be huge time saving. Applicant tracking and streamlined recruiting. Rating candidates and moving them through the funnel quickly, and how we can help with that recruiting piece as well. Built-in time and attendance software, and then also ACA compliance if you're an applicable large employer and you have to do your reporting, full-time and part-time employee tracking that recognizes this, integrating payroll with your healthcare eligibility and that benefits enrollment is going to make it a whole lot easier to track your compliance. So before we get started on the breakdown of these, we're going to go ahead and take a poll. So you should see that coming up. So how many processes that I've talked about have you actually automated? So select all that apply. We'll give you here just a few more seconds and then we'll go ahead and get started on reviewing them. Okay, thank you for your feedback. We'll take a look at those and see what everybody's doing so far.
All right, Beth, looks like about 75% of people are automating their timekeeping and scheduling process. And enrollment looks like we have 0%. We have 25% of people that selected onboarding and paperwork and also filling open positions.
Got it. Okay. So a lot of people are doing the timekeeping and scheduling, but I'm pretty surprised to hear that nobody's streamlining that benefits management, but that's okay. We're going to talk about it and talk about, how it's going to help you in the long run. Okay, so today we're going to kind of go through just the life cycle of an employee, and how automating it is going to help. So when we're starting with the beginning piece, and probably the most important, we're talking about recruiting. So within the HTM trend and promotions of human capital management providers, you'll hear a lot of the phrase hire to retire, and promoting that internal applicant tracking system. Here at HireLevel, we actually go a step above that and we create a partnership to recruit for you. And we attract and hire high potential recruiting experts internally, and we provide them with best-in-class development so they can deepen their knowledge and network to better speak your language and understand your needs. So through our efforts, we generate that talent pipeline, and with a diverse database of candidates looking for their next careers, our recruiters are dedicated to that full life cycle of that role. So in short, what does that mean to you? We can be your partner from recruitment to retirement. We offer that full cycle recruiting with core competencies in light industrial and professional staffing, as you can see here. Employee turnover is expensive, and so more so than you might think. And while some costs are more easily calculated than others, measurable or not, they all hurt your bottom line. So right now, the average cost of a new hire is around just over $4,000. And now, of course, that's going to vary based on time from job posting to hire, the importance of the hire industry position, you know, you get the picture. But this cost includes the recruiting and hiring, the onboarding, the effect on remaining staff, like the overtime worked, cross-training, and just really overall effect on the morale, termination. So the first step to lowering your turnover rate is to find that right applicant. Of course, get that HTM process going so that employee engagement is, you know, increased, and then working with a certified team like ourselves that has the local and national resources to deliver and find and also secure the talent for your organization. So when we talk about why use HireLevel, you know, we have our team of experts. Again, we have that expertise in both light industrial and professional staffing that's allowing us to go across several labor verticals. And, you know, there's nothing more important than delivering on our promise to find and secure that talent for your organization. And that's what we're aiming to do. So onboarding, I think we said we had about 25% have automated that onboarding process. So when I think about my first day as a new hire, and I'm sure most of you have been through it, it usually sounds about like this. You know, you have that welcome meeting with that department manager, followed by another welcome meeting by an HR representative. And it's at that time that you spend countless hours filling out a stack of paperwork. We're talking the W-4, your I-9, employee profile, you know, the list goes on and on. And, you know, just as my hand starts to cramp from filling out all those forms, I see that employee handbook that we review page by page. And, you know, I undoubtedly probably forgot a voided check or a driver's license, something along those lines that leaves me with the stress of knowing that, number one, I forgot it, and also what impression have I left with my employer on my first day on the job. So after the hours with HR, I'm probably handed a stack of benefit information, and I'm told to look it over before being sent back to the department manager to be introduced to my team. And when you think about it, as a new hire, I just spent half of my first day stressing and filling out paperwork after paperwork. And I'm sure this scenario sounds familiar to all of you, but if it doesn't, those 25%, hopefully you've automated that. But you know, you're well on your way to a positive onboarding experience, but how positive is it? So according to a Nintex study on broken processes in corporate America are employees, cause the employees to leave their jobs and raise related costs for employers. And these processes include the ability to use software tools, process-based onboarding, onboarding-related paperwork, becoming part of that company culture, and also the healthcare enrollment. So what does that mean? That means a bad onboarding experience can have long-term effects on new employees, and there we will see that turnover rate again. And for new hires, onboarding is that first taste of their new company. So sure, we're bringing on a new employee is a lot of work for you, but avoid the stacks of paperwork and those forgotten documents. When you have a simple onboarding process, everyone wins. You know, instead of wasting your time filling out hand cramping forms, your new employee can simply just log onto a system, enter personal information in a secure place at home before they start their first day on the job. They come in ready to go, ready to meet the team, and ready to engage themselves. And as a result, also accounting and HR don't need their own individual forms for the new hire to fill out. And for an employee, you know, knowing that you completed these steps does give them that clean start. And so just avoid overburdening new hires with the volumes of hard copies of benefit information. Publish this info on their onboarding portal to be accessed anywhere at any time. And those 4 major benefits include that reduced stress, increased employee satisfaction, and improved job performance and better retention. So when you have a simple onboarding process, everyone wins. Onboarding provides your new employee with his or her first experience with your organization, so you want to make sure it's a good one. So let your new hires hit the ground running on their first day on the job. And we're not just talking about that employee experience, we're also talking about the workload for you. I know as a payroll service provider how time consuming it can be to collect those forms from employers trying to give you the W-4s, and you know, it's oftentimes a struggle to get in sync with that. So when you have that unified human capital management process, the employees enter their information on the onboarding and then it flows right through the payroll, right through the benefits, right through the HR. It's one-time entry and it's done. So no more collecting paperwork, sending it to your provider. It's simply employee completes it and then you're done. So at this point, you've onboarded your employee and now you're hopefully tracking their time. 75% of you said that you've automated that. So maybe most of you are having them clock in and out, but probably some of you have them manually recording their time. And tracking time and attendance can take a lot of your time if you're using manual processes that are outdated and inefficient. You know, as your workforce grows, you may end up spending hours each day creating employee schedules. You're entering hours worked and you're calculating payroll based off of this stuff. And there are also with that the inevitable inaccuracies of manual time and attendance tracking. So this can take your company out of compliance in a number of areas. You know, especially when we're talking about that Affordable Care Act and benefit offerings for payroll. And the penalties for non-compliance are pretty stiff, and this can occur through even those honest mistakes. It's not always intentional. Employees who add up their hours could, you know, they could make errors in addition or knowingly alter their hours worked to receive a bigger paycheck or quality for benefits. And when we're also talking about time and attendance, we're talking about monitoring that overtime, which is probably one of your number one costs if you have hourly variable employees. So if you're not manually collecting those times, consider the numerous interfaces that you have that make data collection time consuming. Are you exporting and importing? You know, these things never quite work together like we'd hope they would. So when we talk about human capital management in terms of timekeeping, we're talking about removing the different logins, those duplicate entries, and that importing and exporting, which is ultimately where errors often occur. It takes away the headache and it streamlines the scheduling and the attendance. So you'll see features like it's easier to read scheduler if you often schedule your employees out, your custom alerts to monitor that early and late arrival, and maybe even that approaching overtime. You know, these alerts are set up as needed, custom to how you run your business. And also shift setups and scheduling tools. I think that's a pretty big, you know, depending on the industry that you're in, but it's a huge added bonus with that being integrated, especially when you have that mobile app that an employee can pull up from their phone to see shift scheduling. And when we're also talking about that mobile app, we're talking about mobile timekeeping itself, which is a huge, huge trend. I see it more and more. I'm asked about it more and more, is with that GPS functionality and that geofencing for accuracy of tracking. You know, you have a remote workforce and they're clocking in and out. Well, you need to make sure that they are clocking in and out on the right job site. So the GPS built-in functionality helps you as the employer, you know, ensure your costs are being made accurately and that your employees are doing what they say they're doing. So does your time and attendance ROI add up? 75% of you, again, said that you are using it, but is your return on investment adding up? So return on investment is frequently quoted, you know, it's especially when it comes to timekeeping. That's most of the time what you hear about when you are quoted with it. But are you looking at the difference between hard and soft dollars? So what's the difference between those hard and soft dollars? Soft savings. The soft savings, we're looking at a product or a process that is eliminating the time spent by the employee or the supervisors. That's what we're talking about when we're referencing soft savings. So like supervisors spending less time on time cards so they can focus on their actual job. And with hard savings or hard dollars, we look at the product and how the results affect the company spending less money and saving real hard cash. And so that's that better employee scheduling when you're reducing your overtime and more consistent enforcement of pay policies. So that early and late clock-ins, things like that. So really, are you truly looking at that soft savings as how much time is it spending me, or those hard dollars where how am I tracking my overtime and am I using it accurately to save the money that I've invested in this product? And so the most frequently quoted statistic in timekeeping ROI calculations is also that error rate when manually preparing those time cards like we talked about a few minutes ago. The American Payroll Association estimates that the error rate averages from 0.5 to 2%. Doesn't sound like a whole lot now, does it? But even in a small company, they can have an annual payroll of $5 million. And if you reduce the error by 0.5%, that can save you, your company, $50,000 on hard dollars alone. So, how are you setting up your rules and procedures within your timekeeping, and is it really adding up? Looking at integrating that to an HTM platform, so there's that lack of inaccuracies. Everything's resolved when it comes to that. Okay, so before we start talking about open enrollment, since none of you are currently automating it, we're going to go ahead and take another poll. So how long does it take you to prepare for your open enrollment process? Go ahead and just, answer honestly. I know this is the hot topic for most HR managers, but, how long is it taking you? Okay, Erin, you want to go ahead and take a look at those results?
Yes, looks like we have 80%, say 2 to 4 weeks, and 20%, say 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, so not so bad. That's still pretty time consuming though when you're talking about the weeks and the amount of time that's spent during those weeks and the productivity that you could have if the process was automated. So as I mentioned earlier, benefits is an integral part of onboarding, and that's when the employee is first introduced to the benefit programs that you have in place. They're often sent home with paperwork, and they have, of course, their probationary period, and then, enrolling in that. But when we talk about open enrollment and automating it, what are those huge benefits? What is saving you time? So number one, it's eliminating that excess paperwork, that stack of paper that all of the employees are given whenever you get a new policy. They're all distributed out. So that alone, collecting that, sending that out is quite a bit of time. But also what it does is it's giving employees better access to the plans, rates, and electronic documents. So by automating open enrollment, you're basically setting up on their portal where they can go and they can view these packages, these plans, and these rates. So the employees themselves can go home, they can sit with their spouse, their family, they can look at the options that's available to them and then decide what's best for them. It will really break it out, whether they're choosing single family coverage, the different plans if you have more than one. But again, they're looking at them remotely or from home, as opposed to having to go to their HR manager, asking for the documentation, losing the chance of losing documents, and then not getting it back in time. So it's eliminating that need for that HR intervention. So a lot of the time that you're spending on open enrollment is communication with your employees, with your team. So again, by providing that data and the resources to your employees, it's going to give them the opportunity to complete the self without having to come to you for it, basically. Now, there's always going to be a need for communication when it comes to open enrollment. Obviously that will never go away. But what we're talking about is giving them these resources and eliminating that paperwork. And also we're talking about reducing the errors and inaccuracies for compliance and ACA tracking, which is huge if that applies to you. Having that electronic record of whether somebody accepted or declined coverage is going to flow right through to your 1095s and that ACA. But also it's going to make sure that they do have the coverage, because one of the #1 reasons why employees are leaving companies is, for the most part, because of benefits. And one of those reasons could also be because the inaccuracies or of errors. You know, if you're not registering them on time, if you're doing everything by hand, you know, maybe they have a life event, like they have a child, they submit paperwork and that doesn't pick up. So nothing's more frustrating than trying to get that stuff aligned. But when you're automating it, we're talking about, you know, they go into their portal, they're entering, hey, I just got married. It's going to trigger a life event to send them an open enrollment policy or a benefit registration so they can enroll their spouse. You know, they adopt, or maybe they have a baby, and it's going to be the same scenario. So it's completely customizable to the plans that you have. You know, it can be set up in various ways. And maybe you're an employer who has to calculate rates based off of their age. These things can all be set up and automated so that time is reduced and you're not having to do that manual calculation and that manual tracking. So with HCM, probably one of that biggest benefit is also that benefit enrollment is going to flow right through to payroll. So once your employees are opting in or opting out, it's going to create that record within their payroll. So they're going to know that that deduction is going to be added effective XYZ. So again, open enrollment, you know, we don't have anybody right now automating it, but it's a serious benefit to human capital management. Okay, so payroll, the main reason why we're talking about this stuff is because employers and employees are expecting more than just providing just paychecks. But when we talk about, you know, employee satisfaction, ultimately the paycheck is the #1 driving factor. So it's still important to look at, you know, payroll service providers and what features you're getting and the services and expectation, because this is still going to reduce you in cost. And by automating your payroll, it's still going to help you streamline and increase employee satisfaction. So #1, looking at security. You know, how secure is that information? You know, we're working with sensitive information, and we need to make sure that that's one of the main concerns. So when you're looking at your payroll, you need to make sure that it's on a secure server, that there's backup stations in case something happens, and that there's a guarantee of security. And also that integration. You know, business owners also have to consider your manager's responsibilities associated with benefits administrations and human resources. So how are you integrating the three together to streamline the process and make sure that #1, your employees are happy? Also, payroll taxes. Probably one of the most intimidating part about payroll would be that payroll taxes, but they're a reality of life. A payroll service provider should be able to process the typical state and federal level taxes and deductions and filings, knowing the taxability of things and also taking care of those local taxes. So you need to look for the ability to view deductions in a customized report. You know, what actions are taken if mistakes are made. You know, maybe you've had a rate change in your unemployment and you didn't get that notice in the mail. Well, how's your tax department taking care of that, and how quickly? And then also service. #1 is that customer service. You want to have that team on your side to know that you have that 24/7, you know, customer service, that they're available via email, phone, whatever it may be, that you have that team that you can count on, because ultimately it's a partnership when it comes to payroll. And nothing is more frustrating than dealing with poor customer service when you have questions about an employee that didn't get their paycheck. So really analyzing those things and making sure that your expectations are being made. So another added benefit of human capital management would be the integrated talent management strategy. So the key to performance management is, again, employee engagement, employee engagement, employee engagement. It's an absolute must because we're talking about, you know, the cost involved of losing employees. And ultimately, you want to have a team that's happy so their performance increases. So what does your performance management look like? Do your employees know the company's business goals and how they contribute? And I think the right performance management tool is going to help you communicate the goals with your staff and provide feedback on their work. So within the HTM software, you should be able to do those performance management tasks. I see more and more companies steering away from just that annual review, and they're doing constant performance management evaluations. These are all things that should be able to be built within the software. They can be, again, include that workflow so it's triggered so the employee and their supervisor both know that it's time for that review. So they need to be also able to track their skills and certifications. Maybe you work in an industry where you have to track certificates, and you need to be made aware when these things are about to expire. You need to have that system where that workflow is there and it initiates that email so you know where your employees are at with these skills and certifications. Goal management, create those realistic goals and keep them focused. Also, the incentives, rewarding employees for doing well. Another added benefit is within payroll, adding that maybe they're getting an annual raise or maybe they're getting a bonus, but adding that in there so you can see how often they're getting these incentives, their raise history, things like that. And also improvement, turn weaknesses into strengths, engage your team, let them know what's happening, automate it, and communicate. It's probably the most important for that talent management strategy. So managing your workforce in 2018, business trends, they're going to come and go, but we have to analyze them to see how they impact our day-to-day operations. Evolving technology and the shift in workforce needs will continue to shape what we see in 2018. And I think we need to examine 4 of the top trends that we believe are going to be having a strong presence in 2018. Number 1 will be that flexible work schedules. One word, millennials. So millennials, like we talked about earlier, are soon going to make up the largest generational share of our workforce. And while this workforce does dictate that work-life balance, we all see that as a priority for the most part, but it's especially true for this generation. So when we're looking at a recent SHRM survey, 52% of HR professionals said that their companies currently offer this flexible work arrangement to at least some of their employees. And SHRM members are also reporting that the retention has improved because they've implemented this policy. So what's that mean? We believe we're going to see gains in recruitment and morale with that as well, and that organizations are going to have a higher engagement experience with 41% less absenteeism, 24% less turnover, and 17% more productivity. What's this mean for your workforce management? It means the importance of a cloud-based solution to ensure that communication. If you've got employees that aren't working your typical Monday through Friday 8 to 5 position, automating and unifying these products has become even more important for your employee and for you to manage your team. Again, referencing back to that mobile app and that communication through it. Number 2, it's a growing remote workforce, which kind of goes almost hand in hand with flexible work schedules, but a little different. But did you know that telecommuting has increased by 115% within the last decade? 115% within the last decade. That's just mind-blowing to me. But, according to the global study on workforce analytics, 80 to 90% of the American workforce would like to work remotely. I'm sure I would be one of them, at least part-time. This is what people are saying, and employers are listening. So as with flexible work schedules, we see the same increased effects, higher morale and lower absenteeism, and an even greater willingness to work overtime, actually. Additionally, we're going to see companies shifting their ideals on employees working remotely because it's going to save them hard dollars. American Express reported saving nearly $15 million per year in real estate costs because they were allowing their employees to work remotely. They eliminated that real estate cost per year by $15 million. So what's not to love about it? Increased efficiency and employee engagement, and also saving hard dollars on not needing that physical office. But that also is going to mean that, again, that mobile app, that engagement to manage that workforce remotely? How are you connecting with them, and how are you making sure that their data is still up to date? Empowering them to, update personal information as needed, automating that benefits enrollment so they can do that from their home. And number 3 is social recruiting. We all know that social recruiting is on the move. It's no secret. It's now a huge recruiting vehicle for most companies. It's a more targeted way to hone in on experienced applicants and reach those passive job candidates. So employees or potential employees, I should say, they're applying from their phones. They're doing things from their phones, so they're expecting to do the same thing once they're hired on. And number 4, again, is using technology for HR management, which we're talking about is human capital management. So as we continue to see HR tech grow and the vast advances that are coming with it, why wouldn't it with the change in the makeup of our workforce that we just talked about? 50% of companies right now, according to Sierra Cedar's HR survey, they've purchased HR cloud-based applications already. And more are beginning to understand that the reality of the pen and paper era of managing your workforce is come and gone. So it's time to automate and it's time to streamline. And I believe we're definitely going to see that rate, that percentage continue to go, because tech tools are just a key part of managing this era of coming change. So HCM is providing hard savings. A recent Nucleus research study included companies of various sizes and industries, so we're looking all across the board, really revealed some of these statistics about the hard savings. So HCM provides hard savings with returns on average of $9.13 for each dollar spent. An initial implementation of this cloud-based HCM solution can cost 79% less than those on-premise solutions. And lastly, companies experience approximately 90% in savings for ongoing standard maintenance. So that's quite a bit of savings when you're looking about it dollar and percentages there. And today's employers need to save time and money wherever possible. And HCM technology has the numerous benefits that not only streamline the processes, but increase your ROI. So we've talked about human capital management and the benefits of each product, but now we're going to talk about here at HireLevel, the software that we've partnered with is called iSolved. And why we've chosen this solution is because it's designed to grow with you. So maybe you're not ready to automate your benefits enrollment. Maybe you're just ready to get onboarding and payroll together with maybe some HR functions. Take a bite off as you can, but the system's designed to grow with you. So as you're ready to automate things and become more efficient, it can. It's a single database for payroll, HR, time, and benefits enrollment. So that means one login. As an employee, as a supervisor, you have that one login that you toggle between. So you don't have to worry about maintaining your stuff as well as your employee stuff on multiple different points. It increases data accuracy because everything's together, it's housed under one place, and it's simplifying your operations. And it's also easy to use. Here at the bottom of the screen, I have iSolved University. So within iSolved, there is actually a tool that is used for training. So as you bring on an HR manager or an HR team, business manager, whatever it may be, there's videos and testing to help you be successful with the product, as well as our support here. Our support team is always available to answer any questions, but really making sure that you feel comfortable because so many facets of your business are going to be held within this product. Some of the more easy to use products also include the executive dashboard, so you can run your reporting, the new Hire Wizard, employee self-service, which is huge. Again, when we talk about mobile app and engaging that team, and report writer to run those custom reports. Maybe you have a general ledger that's not typical. So creating a custom report so you can constantly, have the right things that you need at all time. Employee data is supplied to all functions. Again, it's a single sign-on data entry point, so it flows through. So that's really wrapping it up. Again, how are you automating things? How are you being efficient? And how are you saving those hard dollars? But most importantly, how are you engaging your team and how are you keeping their satisfaction? Because the employees are the lifeline of an organization. So how are you managing them? And hopefully by looking at some of this stuff today, you've been able to get some insight on how to get some streamlined processes in. And so I think now, Erin, do you want to go ahead and do the survey or open it up for Q&A?
Let's go ahead and do the last poll, and then we will open up. If everybody wants to take the next couple of minutes to type in your questions in the question bar if you have any questions for Beth, and then also we just launched another poll. So we'll give you a couple minutes to check that out, and then we will wrap it up. All right, again, feel free to ask any questions, anything, concerns, questions, anything Beth can clarify for you, feel free to ask those right now. We'll give you another minute or so before we wrap it up. We will be sending out this recording for you as well to view, so look for that in your inbox within the next 24 hours. And if you are interested in any of our other webinar programs, we do this on a monthly basis for those of you that are newer to attending. If you're interested in receiving those invites, just be sure to email me at hello@HireLevel.com. And you can also view the previous recordings that we have put out on our YouTube channel. We have a HireLevel YouTube channel, so feel free to check out what we have to offer there. Or again, just shoot me an email, hello@HireLevel.com. I do not see any questions coming in, so we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you, Beth, for taking the time out of your morning to share all the information with us. Very, very good information.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. Have a great day.